Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing all right. How about you?
Good.
Doing good. Doing good here.
All right. So today we're going to be looking at Tinhead. This is another one of those modern remakes of a classic 16-bit game. In this case, Tinhead was originally released on Sega Genesis in '93, and then it actually got a Super Nintendo release in 2019, I believe.
Oh, one of those.
Yes. So the idea is here that obviously this is a game that has existed for quite some time, and so a question of how did they modernize it. When you go to the main menu, you do get two options to play the original Sega Genesis release and to play the Super Nintendo release. They're very minimalistic differences. And you start with the same story you started the original game with.
That's cool. I like the starting storyline. Makes a lot of sense.
Is it because you like capturing stars?
I like how his big plan is he's going to capture the stars and then just randomly disperse them.
As opposed to when stars are not randomly dispersed.
Like, I don't know, keep them and use it to power his doomsday weapon or something.
So, one of the interesting mechanics in this game is that you do have like, I don't know what you call it, a pellet, a gun thing you can fire, right? It's like a steel ball. But you can, with one of the button presses, change the direction. Do you toss it down, forward, which more goes like a straight line, up, it will arc, and you have to switch that around based on what enemies you're, facing, what type of interactive items you might want to hit from a certain distance. The hearts are obviously your lives, and then there is the battery packs, which are essentially your damage, and there are a number of different power-ups. Like the lightning bolt, if I'm not mistaken, gives you full batteries if you have any number below 5.
That's pretty rad, I guess.
So, what do you guys think of the graphical presentation that you probably could have seen?
I
20 years ago?
I already have a problem with it. The character's too big, so every time you move, like the camera jerks, and it just makes it look really not fun to watch, basically.
Yeah, I was actually a little concerned if you were going to have motion sickness with this one or not, and I did not have an issue with it. I don't have the same sensitivity issue with motion sickness as you do, but like that was something that was in my mind. So clearly, it's something to keep in mind if you're somebody who is susceptible to motion sickness.
Yeah, I could see it causing trouble if I were to play it for like an hour or so, maybe. Which is kind of a shame because the graphics really remind me of the games I used to play on PC, like in the early 90s, right?
I was going to say, it reminds me of Commander Keen, right?
Yeah, it looks kind of nice, but that one thing kind of ruins the whole thing to me. That and the clouds just are kind of distracting with how quickly they're moving.
Yeah, it's one thing to do the depth with the panning foregrounds and backgrounds at different speeds, but like none of them need to be as fast as that front cloud.
Yeah, the foreground should stand out better than the background in pretty much any game.
Josh, what do you think of the graphics here?
So I agree with the idea that there's a lot of noise going on. Like there's just too much. It does remind me a lot of like Sonic, though. At least the foreground stuff, but the background is super distracting. So yeah, I get what you guys are saying there.
I think one of the benefits of Sonic, though, is that you're meant to be going very, very fast in it. So it actually matches the theming to have that happen. That's not the case with this game. This is not a super fast robot game.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot jankier because of the way that you play this game. You're right.
Now, there is one other thing I want to mention, and it's just the attempt to modernize. Obviously, it is a $6 game. It's a re-release of an old 16-bit game, but it's not a collection. It's just one game with two different versions. And in regards to like special features, there are none. You essentially have like a save state and a load state like you would have on an emulator, and they've really, like, it's a pretty lazy port. There's nothing else to it.
Yeah, I guess that's not too surprising. Like, that's something that obviously isn't going to gain you any points, but the game, of course, is always going to be the more important thing, and I think that if you really, as a developer, if you really want to impress people, you should try and go all out, right? But it does show sort of your mindset in the way you make a game.
Well, I mean, it does have the benefit that if somebody is familiar with the original game, they can make a very informed decision on if they want to pick this up, because they'll know exactly what it is. It's the original game on modern consoles with a relatively quick platinum. Took me about an hour, and that's about it. Like, no surprises. You know what you're buying.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. How are the controls in it? Because one thing I've noticed is you keep sliding down hills.
Well, the hills, that's a mechanic, right? Like, you're supposed to slide.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the jumping is a little bit imprecise at first, because it's one of those things where you kind of have to, like old games had a lot back then, sure your momentum before you take off. Switching in the middle of a jump is a little bit tougher, but you can get used to that fairly quickly, and once you get back into the mindset of, you know, making sure you have the right momentum as you jump rather than in midair, it's perfectly fine.
Cool.
All right, so, you know, after what you guys have seen here, would you continue after the first opinion?
I would not. I think the graphics, I think the game itself looks okay. I'd consider beating it if it was like, you know, 2 hours long or whatever. But the graphics definitely ruins it for me, specifically, like, just how unpleasantly it moves.
I was honestly concerned that would be the case for you. Josh?
I actually think I would continue on this. The graphics don't bother me nearly as much, although they are definitely the weakest point of the game, and I'm a little bit interested to see kind of how the power-ups work and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a few. I myself would continue if I was to get this one, just because I didn't get motion sickness from it, and with the variety of locales and just it's a short platformer. It only takes like 2 hours to beat. There's no reason not to. So with that, I guess we'll say that there's 2 continues and 1 not.
Hey, did you like that video? If you did, be sure to let us know by clicking the like button and leaving a comment. If you want to be first in line for any new content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and then hit up our Facebook page. The link's in the description below to see what's coming up next.